ready to start this off?
Whenever you're ready. I'm here.
All right, so if you can cool here with Bobby Caldwell. How you doing, man?
I'm very well indeed. And yourself?
Good. So it's been almost a year since we last talked. How has Captain Beyond going?
It's going great. So far, everywhere we go, we're getting an outstanding reception and, getting to meet a lot of new people and, basically getting out and spreading the word, which is exactly what we need to do. And, so far it's doing very well.
What is it like going back and seeing the fans and playing the music all over again?
Well, it's great because you see, it's the people that make you love doing it, and the people that usually come to these shows are music. They're real music fans, and so it's wonderful because that's the only reason I got into music. Honestly, was to play for the people who I don't want to sound corny here, but that got it. That understood the difference between what you're doing and perhaps what someone else was doing. So it's great.
Now, is there any chance you guys doing some new music that you guys are all together?
Absolutely. Well, the whole thrust of this is to do a few new albums, and we're talking to some record companies right now about doing this. And it's Rosie. It's sort of like it's like stepping stones. You this and that and the other, but it's never been about us just playing this music that people know and it being relegated to just that. It's never been about that. It's always been about doing a whole lot of new music. So I'm talking to some very notable producers, and these are the people that that really matter. And so in time we're gonna be putting out some hopefully some serious music.
Awesome, man. I'm excited for that for sure. Have you guys written any of the tracks yet? Have you have in mind which direction you're going to go with this new material?
That's a good question. Not really. I mean, there's a lot of songs that I've written through the years that could apply to Captain Beyond. And could maybe not apply to Captain Beyond. But people are different. You know what I mean? So sometimes somebody once said, well, Bobby, they may think that song is great, even though it doesn't sound like Mesmerization Eclipse. And I thought for a minute, I said, well, maybe you're right. So, all of that is coming together. So.
Now, when you go ahead and think about doing new music, I mean, do you have the mindset of what you had years ago, or do you got to try and adapt to what's going on now?
Another great question. No, I don't. For me, everything is, and I could speak probably for most creators of music, it's sometimes these people have, they have some sort of template, shall we say. I don't work from that, and I don't work from what the public would like to hear, ever. I only do, as far as my own personal input, is what I think what I think I like. If I like it, and I think it's interesting, most of the time, other people will think it's interesting too. So you really have to just go on. You know what I mean? It's like you just sitting around with your girlfriend, your wife, or somebody, and you say, I got a feeling we ought to just do it this way. And usually it works out if you do it Ramsey's way. And that's kind of how it is about writing the songs. I never let public, whatever the winds are blowing or the flavor of the month or any of that nonsense. I can't even be bothered with that,
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, because it's sometimes disappointing when you hear a band that's been around forever trying to adapt to a new sound, and you know that they're just doing it to get commercial success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to stick to you got to stick to what's in your heart, and what you really like to do. And I'm an experimenter by nature. I like to experiment, and all of that music originally with the early Captain Beyond stuff was all truly an experiment. Now, it doesn't sound like an experiment because the connotation of experiment is like something that has no resolve or nothing. But it was because, I don't know, I was listening to something the other day, and it goes, I was listening to Icarus with Rod singing that was on the Lost and Found album, and I don't listen to it very often. And it went through like 3 or 4 time changes in a matter of 20 seconds. So, but it works. So, it's all about experimenting and seeing what you want to do with it. So, and hopefully it's very musical.
Now, speaking of Rod, has he heard the new version of Captain Beyond?
I don't know that answer. Rod is happily married, living up in Northern California, and we do talk. But I don't know if he's heard the new band or not.
So you haven't invited him to any shows or anything?
Well, we haven't been up in Northern California. In the event that we are playing up that way, I'll certainly invite him for sure. He's a fantastic talent, that guy. I can't say enough about him.
Now, when you go ahead and you're doing these shows, I'm sure there's a lot of crowd interaction afterwards and stuff. I'm sure people come up to you and have all kinds of questions. I mean, you had such a vast career. It's got to be interesting hearing, people want to know about your time with Armageddon. They want to know your time with Captain Beyond. They want to know your time with Johnny Winter.
Yeah.
You got to have some interesting stories to tell these fans.
Well, yeah, it's what's really amazing is the fact that these people know what's happening. I mean, they'll ask you, well, so like a guy emailed me the other day, said, "Oh, by the way, I just wanted to tell you, I saw you at the Hollywood Bowl with Black Sabbath," and you're thinking, really? And I remember that show quite well. I mean, because Gentle Giant, who was a great band, was also on, and. Yeah, it would stagger you the kind of memory these people have and the places they've been. But you see, this is the difference between let's go to Joe Blow concert and let's go to the people who are the hardcore music fans, people that are real into music, and that's the difference, because they never forget. I was talking to Edgar Winter just the other day, and we were talking about, the times, and he remembered, coming from Edgar about how powerful Johnny Winter Band was and what a group it was, and those were his words. So, people, for somehow, the people that are real musicians or real music lovers, they remember, they remember.
Well, I mean, it's not every day you get a chance to talk to a rock and roll icon like yourself,
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, you mean somebody who survived it so far?
Well, I'm just saying, you've played with so many different people. I mean, you have so many different experiences. I'm sure people could come up to you and ask you a million questions.
Oh, yeah, and it's fun because I enjoy, like, the things that a person wants to know about something because, if you were a famous jazz pianist, let's say, you, Renzi, and people would come up to you and ask you questions that you really thought were provocative, interesting, because you're a fan of music too, see, I'm a fan of music as well as a player and a writer. So, just like Herbie Hancock and Paul McCartney, everybody's in the same boat. They're fans as well as being performers. So it's always fun when people come up with, a certain perspective, or they want to ask you about something and it's very insightful, or so those are some really fun types of questions.
Now, one thing I want to talk to you about is the live show. There's a lot of fans out there. I've been seeing some YouTube videos of the band together now. Have you ever thought about somebody professionally recording a song or two to go ahead and put that out to show the fans that Captain Beyond is still going around?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We have a management that's the same people that handle Alan Parsons.
Okay.
And so we're gonna get to doing some, live recordings, and which actually would be very helpful. But we're coming to that.
Well, I mean, it's crazy that you got to adapt to the social media standard, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I don't think, again, that's another thing that I think if it's used as a tool, something to communicate with people, it's wonderful. But just to constantly, people say, I'm on my way to the laundromat, or really? I mean, you know what I mean? I never quite got the. I just don't understand the practical application of those kinds of things. I guess if you just have nothing better to do, it's okay for those people. But to use it just as a communicating device, I think it's what we do with it generally.
I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I don't care how much I like a musician. I don't care what he had for lunch. I don't need to see a picture of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I just got back from getting a colonoscopy. I'm thinking, really? What are you people doing? I know. Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, and it kind of dampers that idea you have of someone in your head, I mean, when you see someone constantly putting that stuff out there, you're no longer, there's no mystique left to that artist that you think is there, you know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot to be said about that statement right there, Ramsey. A lot to be said. Years ago, that was the template for the people that knew the way to El Dorado, if you know what I mean. In other words, being unaccessible was the key. Unaccessible. And these people that were, these people that were always in the limelight, this and that, but the people who knew, like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, even Captain Beyond, numerous people would stay out of that mainstream, because the only place that you wanted to that you'd see them is when they were in town. That's the only time you'd see them. You weren't going to see them all over the interviews everywhere. So there's a lot to be said about that.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you want, though. I mean, I want to guess what's going on. I don't want to see that in my face every second. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
I mean, you got to think, if social media was going on back in the 70s the way it is now, I don't think half these bands would be the rock icons that they are today.
I think that is also a very fair statement. The whole thing is avoiding mediocrity. You know that.
Yo, definitely.
It's always avoiding mediocrity. That's my motto. So what I tell people is, I'd rather people say, man, you are the worst. And I'm not joking about this. Than to tell me, hey, you sounded pretty good, man. You this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, that's not going to get it. Or that record you made, oh, yeah, it sounded pretty good. I was kind of thinking, no, that's not going to get it. You know what I'm saying? It's a standard that one tries to keep. And trying to avoid that mediocrity world, which may be about 70% of the music business, and I say that with love, I'm not being mean, but it's not stuff that you're going to go, whoa, did you hear that? Did you hear Sergeant Pepper's, or did you hear this or that, or did you hear, are you experienced, or whatever it is. So.
Now let's go back to the Captain Beyond and the touring. When someone goes and sees the show, what are they going to expect? I mean, how do you fit all the songs into one set?
Well, what we do is the songs that everybody wants. You just do it like you do anything. You pick the ones that you know the people are going to like, and the ones that people have always talked about, and that's all, And so we do a pretty wide, a lot of stuff off the first album, a lot of stuff actually off the second and third album, because that's what the people want to hear. So, we just, there's certain songs, and then there's a few things, that like anything you try out, say, hey, let's see how this works, and that's not working too well. And there's, so you just kind of experiment with it.
Now, with some of the members that are in the band that you have now, were they Captain Beyond fans? Did they reach out to you? How did that process go together?
Yeah, they were Captain Beyond fans, but some more than others. The bass player actually played with Rhino and I back some years ago. So,
Jeff?
Jeff did, yeah. And Don, the other guitar player, also was very sort of a full-time guitar player with Rhino as well. Some years ago, not when I was playing with him. So some of these people, have a little bit of that alumni in them, if you will. And Jamie, played Captain Beyond stuff with all the bands that he played in around the Falls and all that stuff. So, they all, they've all been pretty much aware of it.
So are they constantly asking you to tell them stories? Or are they constantly saying, hey, they're with you all the time, so they got to know more about you than anybody?
Unfortunately. No, I'm kidding.
So, I'm sure every state that you guys play, every city, you've got a memory of something, and they want something. I definitely would be the same way. Tell me about here. Tell me about there. What do you remember?
And that's the fun part. Is learning what's the backstory of things. That's. I ran into Eric Burden once, and I wanted to ask him about his manager. And because his manager also managed Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Right.
And he disappeared unexpectedly, or so they say, in a plane crash somewhere. And I'd always thought about that. So when I saw him, I had to ask him, and he just kind of politely laughed and said something like, your guess is as good as mine, and he wasn't kidding. So, I don't know. You like to ask those kind of questions.
Now, I know you're busy with doing Captain Beyond stuff. Did you ever think about writing a book?
Yes. You're the umpteenth person that's asked me about that. And if I can get the right publisher or something going, I'm going to write a book, for sure.
Like I said, I can't stress it enough. There's a million stories out there.
Oh, yeah. And some of them we can actually share.
That's got to be the craziest part, too, man. I'm sure you've seen all kinds of stuff, and it's just like, man, there's something you just got to keep in the back of your mind with a grin on your face.
That's right. And you don't take it too serious. You go, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. I remember so-and-so. Some of that stuff you remember by just doing what we're doing, just talking. All of a sudden, somebody will say, yeah, that's right. Well, you know, one thing triggers something otherwise you just hadn't thought about. But, they're there.
Well, you know what the craziest part is? I mean, there was no recordings of these. It wasn't like we were discussing earlier where social media would have had these stories up in 2 seconds. So now, as people's memory goes, the story gets tweaked a little bit here or a little bit there where it turns into something more than it was. But, I mean, you know exactly what went on in those times.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just, the beautiful part is that some of the people, some of these great musicians, saw so many things, that the other guy didn't see, and I mean, it's hard to explain what it's like to, for instance, play the Hollywood Bowl, twice,
right,
or something, or play Shea Stadium, which I did, or play the, headline at the Royal Albert Hall or something. Some people never did that and never got to see that, you see. So my story is different from, they were on the road, with the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, and they did this, and they were over here. So it's kind of neat because you get to learn a lot, what other people's travels took them, and it's interesting.
Now, one of the benefits I see with social media are some of these fan groups that are out there you see, like on Facebook. It's got to be kind of cool to go ahead and click on to your name and see thousands of people in a group that are just all about you or all about your band.
I don't really, I tell you what, I don't really pay much attention to that stuff. I really don't. I just don't. I very seldom, it might surprise you that, I never listen to something I've recorded, ever. I mean, if I do, it's because I have to listen to it, you know what I mean, for a practical reason. I just don't get into it, because when I check something out, I'm always thinking, boy, is that dreadful. What was I thinking right there? Could I have done that better? You just do that. If I ever hear something that I go, man, this really holding up, sounds good still, I'd be surprised.
See, that's very interesting that you said that. I mean, I know movie stars that say they don't watch their films because they were there. But with a musician, that's something you're still doing every single day. I mean, you're still playing those songs. So, yeah, if you go ahead and listen to it and you think, now I should have had this going on, you could basically change the song to what you think it should be now.
That's right, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you just, oh, well, that's the way it is,
Now, people want to follow up. They want to see the tour dates. They want to go ahead and check out the shows. Is there a main website, or is there something where they should go?
Yeah, I mean, if they go to either just officialcaptainbeyond.com, or they go to BARRY Entertainment, Barry Entertainment, or they go to World Artist, which is the big one with John Regna. They should be able to find it, and it's posted. Usually, it's posted in social media as well, so it's almost like you have to. So, to keep up on it.
Well, Bobby, I thank you for your time. I'm really looking forward to some new material coming out. I'll be checking out your pages to see if there's anything like that. I know you guys are coming here to the Sportsman's Tavern in a couple of days on Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday night, yeah.
Well, I will be there to check that out for sure. And
fantastic. Come up and shake. I'd like to shake your hand, and so make sure you come up and see me when you get there.
Definitely. All right.
Fantastic. Well, I've enjoyed it very much. Wonderful speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday night. And I hope everybody that hears this online in the Falls or Buffalo or Rochester, wherever, I hope everybody will come out and see us on Sunday night.
All right, Bobby, thank you so much.
Okay, God bless. I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.